Alright everyone, welcome back to another video, and today what I have for everyone is my versus/comparison video between the Moto G Power, the 2020 model, and the Google Pixel 3a XL. Alright? So what we're going to do in this video here today is we're going to compare and contrast some of the similarities and differences between these two devices. And then by the end of the video, I'm going to give y'all my final thoughts and an overall recommendation as to which of these devices I would recommend you pick up over the other, or if I could recommend both and why my particular reasons are for recommending the device that I do. That being said, without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Now, I'm super clumsy, so I'm going to keep both of these in the case, but I'm going to attempt to give y'all the most informative versus/comparison that I can. So starting off here, the first thing that I want to talk about is the overall build quality and design on both, and I guess to do that, we do have to actually take these bad boys out of the case. So let's pop these off, and let's get to talking about it. But I will try to put the cases back on as soon as I can, because you know your boy is Mr. Super Clumsy, and I don't want to break nothing, especially because I spent my hard-earned money on these. But let's get to talking about the overall build quality and design on these. Let's go. Now, build quality and design-wise, these are very, very similar. They're both primarily built out of plastic, okay? But some differences in the overall build. The G Power here has a metal mid-frame covered in a plastic unibody with a plastic back, and a not quite Gorilla Glass 3, because this display was made from a competitor's glass. I actually found the maker of this display on a Reddit post. I can't remember the name right now, but this is supposed to be similar to Gorilla Glass 3, even though it's not Corning Gorilla Glass. All right, but again, the main difference here in the build materials of the G Power versus the Pixel 3a XL is that this is made out of primarily plastic, but it does have a metal mid-frame. All right. Whereas on the Pixel 3a XL, this is all plastic. So a plastic mid-frame, a plastic unibody, and then Dragon Trail glass up front. All right. So that's the main differences in the overall build quality. They're both plastic, but one has a metal mid-frame versus an all plastic build on the Pixel 3a XL. Now, talking about the designs on both of these are fairly both modern designs. You can see up front, they both have their punch hole cameras up front. All right. If we swipe over, you can see they both got their punch hole cameras up front. Same thing if we turn on the Pixels. It also has its punch hole camera up front. All right. But other than that, the Pixel has what we would call a old school / modern design. So you can see this is very reminiscent of the older Pixels in the Pixel lineup. Pixel 2, Pixel 3, Pixel 2 XL, Pixel 3 XL. Very Pixel-esque design here. Got that one solid color with the accent color on the power button. Whereas the Moto for the G Power 2020, they went with an all modern design here. So you got that modern punch hole. Then you got that triple camera layout in the back with the fingerprint sensor with the Moto logo on the inside. A really, really nice modern design overall, okay? But that being said, when we talk about the overall build quality and design on both of these devices, which one wins or what is it? Well, in terms of the overall build quality and design, I would have to say it's a tie. Both Pixel, or the G team, and Motorola have done a great job with the designs on these devices. So all in all, I have to say in terms of the build and design, it would be a tie in my opinion. And keep in mind, This whole video, as with all of my content, is just based on my opinion, and I feel as though everyone is entitled to their own opinion. All right? So let's keep it moving now. And before we move any further, let me drop these bad boys back into cases, because we're not trying to break any one of these bad boys. So put the Moto G Power back in its case. And we're going to put the Pixel 3a XL back in its case. And we're going to move on with the rest of the video. Let's go. So up next now, the next thing I want to talk about with everyone is these displays, okay? So let's talk about the similarities and differences between these displays now. Now, talking about some of the similarities, these are both 1080p plus displays with the 18.5 by 9 aspect ratios. They do both have the modern punch hole design, but where they differ is the fact that the Pixel is a 6-inch OLED display versus a 6.4-inch IPS LCD display. And other than that, they do differ in their overall resolutions as well. So the Pixel has a 1080p by 2160 full HD plus display versus the Moto's 1080p by 2300, again, full HD plus display. So they do differ in their overall resolutions as well. But talking about either of these displays in terms of day-to-day usage, now I adjusted them both to 30% brightness for this video, and it kind of messed it up. But just so y'all can see the displays moving forward here, they're both adjusted to the overall same brightness. But talking about these displays in terms of day-to-day usage, I have to say these displays are actually really, really good. Now, they do both suffer from the same thing. So outdoors in direct sunlight, I do have to rock them at 85% brightness or above. Indoors, I typically keep them just under 50% brightness, about 45 for the Pixel 3a XL, and about 47 for the Moto G Power, okay? And there's one thing that I did notice, the display on the Pixel does get a little bit brighter than the display on the Moto. But other than that, I would have to say both of these displays are really good indeed. But if I had to pick one, I would have to say that the display on the Pixel is more preferential in my opinion. So in terms of the overall displays, I have to say the Pixel takes the win on this one. All right? But that's just my opinion. Honestly, both these companies came out with a really solid device, and they both have really good displays on them. Okay? But I'm more part and partial to the OLED or the POLED or Super AMOLED displays over the IPS LCD ones because they get brighter and they're more battery efficient. But that's, that's personal preference. Now, moving on from the displays, let's now dive a little bit deeper into the hardware and the software on each device. Let's go. Let's go. Now, starting off with the hardware here, and you guys and gals are going to see and hear some very big differences when we talk about the overall hardware. All right. So hardware wise, both of these devices share the same RAM and storage configurations. So they both have 4 gigs of onboard RAM and 64 gigs of onboard storage. All right. And that is where the similarities end, okay? Now, moving on from the hardware aspects here, the Pixel, let's start there first, has 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of onboard storage. It's also packing a 3700 milliamp hour battery on board. On the rear, it does have a always active capacitive fingerprint sensor, just like the Moto. It has one primary 12 megapixel rear-facing camera, whereas the Moto has 3 rear-facing mounted cameras here. The Pixel has a 12 megapixel primary versus the Moto 16. The Moto has a 8 megapixel ultra-wide and a 2 megapixel macro sensor. All right. Both these devices can record in up to 4K at 30 FPS, and both of these devices do have All right, it's on the top on the Pixel. 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks, meaning that they do support wired headphones and or external audio. But the Pixel's camera, stock camera, supports plug and play external audio, whereas on the Moto, you will have to sideload a third-party camera app to get that external audio support via the headphone jack. Okay? Other than that, some more differences here. Whereas the Pixel has a 3700 milliamp hour battery, the Moto G Power 2020 has a 4700 milliamp hour battery. Now, I know on paper, the Moto battery says 5000 milliamp hours, but via my testing and verifications, I can verify that this bad boy, the Moto G Power 2020, has a 4700 milliamp hour battery. Okay? Now, both of these devices do support USB Type-C, reversible fast charging. The Pixel does it with direct power delivery 2.0, 18-watt rapid charging, whereas the Moto does it with either 15-watt turbo power charging or 18-watt turbo power charging, depending on your region. All right, and really only the European regions get the 18-watt fast charger or turbo power charger for the Moto out of the box. Everywhere else is going to get the 15-watt turbo power charger out of the box, but they do support they do both support fast charging. All right. Other than that, in terms of similarities or other similarities, they do both have a stereo speaker setup. So one bottom firing speaker and one front firing speaker on both, and it's pretty much set up the same. So the same thing goes for the Pixel, one bottom firing speaker and one front firing speaker. I'm going to give y'all a speaker sample a little bit later on in the video. Okay. Now, getting into some more differences on these, aside from the display size, so 6.4 inch versus 6 inch, the Moto has microSD card expansion, okay? So you can do dual SIMs on here, or one nano SIM and one dedicated microSD card, whereas the Pixel just has built-in internal storage. Now, the Pixel does also have dual SIM card support with one physical SIM and one eSIM. All right, so that's a difference there as well. Okay, now moving on to some more differences here. Let's talk about the internal chipsets on these. Let's talk about that right now. So in terms of the Pixel, this bad boy is running the Snapdragon 670 octa-core chipset and the Adreno 615 GPU versus the Moto G Power's Snapdragon 665 octa-core chipset and its Adreno 610 GPU. So these are both what you would call mid-range processors on these devices. All right? Mid-range on both of these bad boys right here. Mid-range indeed. All right? And actually, I'm getting an important phone call, so I got to pause this video, and I'll be right back to continue on. I'll see y'all in a second. All right, everyone. Sorry about that. Now we are back into the versus/comparison video between the Moto G Power 2020 versus the Pixel 3a XL. Now, finishing up the hardware, I believe we were at the tail end of the hardware comparison. Now, where these differ also in hardware, and this is a major one, is the fact that the Moto G Power here, the 2020 model, has a splash-resistant nano coating versus the fact that the Pixel 3a XL does not have any waterproofing of any kind. All right? Okay. So that officially goes over the hardware specs, the similarities, and the differences between these two devices. Now, in terms of hardware, which device do I feel wins? Well, in my opinion, in terms of the hardware, the Moto G Power is taking the cake, okay? And it's for two key aspects here. Number one is it has the addition of the microSD card expansion, and number two is it has the waterproofing, the splash resistant nano coating, whereas those are both downsides and pretty major downsides when we talk about it and compare it up against the Pixel 3a XL. Again, no micro SD card expansion on this one, so what you get is what you get on the Pixel, and you can't throw a fit. Alright, and no water resistance whatsoever on this one as well, so you definitely want to keep this one away from water. Alright, so that goes over the hardware. Now, talking about the software aspects here, in terms of the software, these two devices are extremely close, but different, okay? Close, but different, alright? Now, in terms of the software, this bad boy is running Android 10 with the February 1st security patch on top, the Moto G Power here, whereas the Pixel 3a XL is running Android 11 with the March 5th security patch on board. So in terms of the Android version, the Pixel 3 XL is taking the win, okay? But I gotta tell y'all, the Moto did come close in terms of the software performance because I do like all of the additional Moto features, okay? I like the chop for the flashlight, okay? That's really convenient. I like the twist for the cameras. Again, super convenient, and I do like some of the other Moto gestures that the Moto G Power offers. The Moto display versus the always-on display is pretty close indeed. But the Pixel 3a XL, in my opinion, does win when we talk about the overall software from a day-to-day performance standpoint in terms of memory management and being able to keep applications open in the memory longer. In my opinion, the Pixel 3a XL just does a better job with the overall memory management. So in day-to-day performance and fluidity, the Pixel is winning. Whereas the Moto G Power, you will notice a few app hiccups and a little bit of app slowdown, so that does take away from the overall user experience. So in terms of the software aspects, whereas I do like the features that the Moto device offers, I'm going to have to give the overall software to the Pixel 3a XL. Alright? Good stuff indeed. Okay, so y'all can see they kind of traded blows on those two categories. So the Moto won for the hardware, but the Pixel won for the software. All right, so they kind of trade blows right there. All right, now let's keep it moving now, and let's move on to the next category here. And the next category that I want to talk about with everyone is the overall Wi-Fi performance between these two devices. All right, now in terms of the Wi-Fi, these pretty much have the same Wi-Fi loadout. So they both support dual band Wi-Fi with either 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz band Wi-Fi on board. So as long as you have a router and or a modem that could take advantage of either of those bands, you should be good to go. All right, and in my opinion, in terms of the overall Wi-Fi performance, both of these devices have done a great job. Now let's go ahead and pull up a YouTube video here so we can give you the overall Wi-Fi performance test. I had it already pulled up over here on the G Power. Let's go ahead and pull it up over here on the Pixel 3a XL. Okay, I didn't really pull it up over here. So let's go ahead and pull it up over here. Let's search for that copyright-free music right here. Boom. All right, let's pull that up. Now, before we start, let's go ahead and make sure the volume is maxed out. So we got max volume over here on the Pixel. And we have max volume over here on the Moto G Power here, okay? You can see max volume. Now, this Wi-Fi performance test will also double as a speaker test, okay? And in terms of the speakers, as I said earlier, we have a stereo speaker set up on these devices on both. One bottom firing speaker and one front firing speaker on both. All right. So now let's get into the Wi-Fi performance on both. Let me spin the microphone around so y'all can get a nice speaker performance sample, and then we're going to keep it moving. All right. So let's spin this bad boy. All right, and let me get one of my phone stands here to get it up nice and close. And let's go ahead and start with the Moto is defending. Let's go ahead and start with the Moto G Power 2020. Okay, and then we'll finish up with the Pixel. All right, so pay close attention here. Now for reference, the microphone is less than a foot away. The mic is right here, but it's slightly out of the frame of the camera, all right? So you should get an overall really good microphone or speaker performance sample. We're going to let it play for a little bit so y'all get a nice clip, and then we're going to go ahead and test the overall Wi-Fi performance. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me go ahead and push play. All right, let's check the Wi-Fi performance now. Let's check this Wi-Fi performance. Here we go. Jump forward. Jump forward. Jump backwards. All right, jump forward a little bit more. All right, check out this placement. Okay, that's the Moto G Power right there. Now let's do the Pixel. Same test. 100% volume. Here we go. Let's let it play. All right, let's check that Wi-Fi performance. Jump forward. Jump forward. Jump backwards. All right, let's check these speakers. Okay, that's good. All right, so there you guys and gals have it. Real quick speaker test with the Pixel 3a XL. Real quick speaker test with the Moto G Power 2020. All right, so in terms of the Wi-Fi, you guys and gals can see it was pretty much a tie. The Wi-Fi on both of these is pretty much top notch. No issues with the overall Wi-Fi whatsoever. But when we move on to talking about the overall speaker performance and its placement, in terms of the placement, this is a tie yet again. Although I really do appreciate the stereo setup, both of these speakers are unbalanced, okay? So to me, a large majority of the speaker performance is coming out of the bottom firing speaker, whereas the front firing speaker is kind of a secondary. Okay, I kind of wish both of these speaker setups were balanced and true front-facing stereo setups as opposed to a front-firing and a bottom-firing one. But that being said, talking about the overall speaker performance, based on what I can hear from my ear, the Moto G Power takes the win here. Okay, it gets louder, it has less distortion at max volume. Overall, in my opinion, the Moto G Power speakers give you a much more enjoyable experience. Now, that does not mean by any shape, form, or fashion that the Pixel 3a XL speakers are bad. The Moto G Power speakers are just noticeably better. Okay? So that goes over the Wi-Fi performance. That goes over the real quick speaker test. And that's just sharing my overall opinion when we talk about the speakers on these two devices. All right, now let's move on here and let's talk about the overall LTE and the supported bands on both of these. Let me go ahead and pull them up real quick here. And honestly, y'all, when we talk about the LTE and the supported bands on both of these devices, I have to say it's pretty much a tie. Now, these are 4G only devices here. Let me pull up the Pixel right here. Okay, I'm going to show y'all this in close-up fashion in a little second here. Let me pull up the Moto. But these two devices do not support 5G of any kind, but they do have full band support for 4G LTE across all of the major carriers. You can see, so whether you go with the Moto here, you have everything up to band 71, okay? So this will work on Sprint, this will work on Verizon, this will work on AT&T, this will work on T-Mobile, and any of their MVNOs. So Metro, Cricket, Boost, you good, all right? And the same thing goes for the Pixels. So once again, you got all the bands for your major carriers in the States and all your GSM carriers and MVNOs. Again, all the way up to band 71, as you can see right there. So again, AT&T, good. Sprint, good. Verizon, good. T-Mobile, good. You're good to go. Now, in particular, when I've tested these devices here, the Moto G Power 2020 here is locked to Straight Talk Verizon. But when I get it unlocked after I use it for another year and it's fully paid off, and I get it fully unlocked, it will be GSM unlocked as well as CDMA unlocked, okay? But you can get a globally unlocked version of this from Amazon or Best Buy, just to name a few places. And the Pixel 3a XL comes unlocked, but you can also go into your carrier stores and pick this up if they still have it available. But in terms of LTE and band supported, it's pretty much a tie for both of these, okay? So let's keep it moving now. Let's go. So up next now, let's talk about the Bluetooth on both of these devices here, okay? So in terms of Bluetooth on both of these devices, they're both packing Bluetooth 5.0 on board. And y'all can see I pretty much connected them up to all of the same Bluetooth accessories, and both devices work no problems when we talk about the overall Bluetooth performance, okay? So whether I was using the Moto G Power or I was using the Pixel 3a XL, I didn't have any issues with the overall Bluetooth performance. So in terms of Bluetooth on either device, it is top notch. So it's a tie in the Bluetooth category in my opinion. Now, the same thing can be said for the overall GPS. Now, I've used the GPS on both of these devices for a variety of different things, but the primary thing being turn-by-turn navigation and geocaching and geotagging, and both of these devices did a great job. Didn't have any issues with the onboard GPS whatsoever. So GPS on these is a tie in my opinion yet again, and it is top-notch on either device. Okay? Now, moving on to another important category here, let's talk about the overall call quality on these devices via the onboard receivers, and let's talk about the overall call quality on these devices via the onboard speakers here, okay? And at least in this category, the Moto device takes the W hands down. Comparing the onboard receiver calls to those receiver calls taken on the Pixel, the Moto device in terms of the onboard receiver is a little bit louder and a little bit clearer. Whereas the receiver on the Pixel, you know, it was just a little bit more quieter than I was expecting, or more quiet than I was expecting. All right? And that doesn't mean that the speakerphone calls on the Pixel were bad. I just noticed that it's noticeably better for the speaker on the Moto device. So in terms of call quality and speaker call quality, it's a win for the Moto G Power in my opinion. Okay? All right, let's keep it moving now. So up next now, let's talk about the overall camera performance on both of these devices. Now, once again, I want to reiterate that on the primary cameras on either of these devices, you can do up to 4K at 30 FPS. So whether you're using the 16 megapixel primary camera on the Moto or the 12 megapixel primary camera on the Pixel, you could do 4K at 30 FPS. Did I say 60 FPS? My mistake. You could do 4K at 30 FPS. You could do 1080p 30 and 60. You could do 1080p 130 frames per second. And you could do 720p 240 frames per second slow motion with the primary rear-facing cameras on these, okay? But you do get the addition of the ultra-wide and the macro sensor on the Moto, whereas you get one primary camera on the Pixel, okay? And on the front, we have a 16 megapixel camera on the Moto at 1080p, 30 FPS, maximum recording resolution, and you can do slow motion 120 frames per second on the Moto on the front-facing camera, whereas you max out at 30 FPS on the 8 megapixel camera on the Pixel, no slow motion with the front-facing camera on the Pixel. All right? But both devices can do portrait mode with the front-facing and rear-facing cameras, in case you wanted to know that. Now, let's get into my overall experiences with the cameras on both of these devices. Now, I pretty much use these devices side by side for almost a month, 3 weeks to a month with both. I've actually had the Moto G Power for the longest, but when I judge cameras, I judge them from 3 distinctive categories: point and shoot photo capture capabilities, point and shoot video capture capabilities, and overall audio capture capabilities from the onboard microphones. Now, in my opinion, the Pixel 3a XL wins all 3 of these categories hands down, okay? When we talk about point and shoot photo performance, 9 times out of 10, whatever photo I was trying to take with the Pixel, I got it on my first shot. Whereas when I tried to do the same shot on the Moto, it took me 2, 3, up most to 4 times before I got a decent or a comparable shot. So overall, when we talk about photo performance, it's definitely a W for the Pixel. And the same thing goes for overall video performance as well. 9 times out of 10, when I was recording a video with the Pixel, it just turned out better and I didn't have to do as much reshooting. Whereas the video on the Moto, comparison-wise, is a little bit darker and the color science isn't all there, okay? And when we talk about overall audio capture capability, the Moto did a great job with the audio capture capability, but I just felt like the Pixel was head and shoulders better in my opinion. And the thing that kind of put the Pixel over the top for me when we talk about audio capture capabilities is when I wanted to do, or if I needed to get external audio with an external microphone is plug and play supported on the Pixel's stock camera application, whereas I did have to go ahead and sideload a third-party camera app to get the external audio recording support on the Moto. So, in my opinion, the Moto loses all three of the camera categories. So, point and shoot photo capabilities is taking an L. Video capture capabilities is taking an L. And overall audio capture capabilities is taking an L. So the Pixel wins these three categories hands down. All right? Now, moving on, let's now talk about the overall gaming capabilities on these devices. Now, once again, I've done full camera videos, if I forgot to mention it, and I've done full gaming videos on both of these devices. I'll be sure to link them up down below so y'all can go ahead and take a look and judge for yourselves. But again, this versus/comparison video is just based on my overall opinion. All right? So, talking about the gaming, these two devices did a comparable job when we talk about the gaming. It was playable and enjoyable, but they did get noticeably performance hiccups after extended gameplay, but it didn't really take away from the overall user experience. So I say gaming on these devices should be really good. So it's a tie when we talk about the overall gaming performance, in my opinion. Now, if you want to get a much better gaming experience, you may want to go ahead and go in and adjust the settings. But when I was gaming with these, I left them on their default settings directly out of the box, and I just gamed and tried to enjoy myself. And both of these devices did a really good job in terms of the gaming, and I didn't really have any heating issues after extended gameplay. But you know, I was expecting that because plastic unibodies on both. Plastic is kind of good at dissipating heat. So really good overall gaming experience on either device. So it's a tie in the gaming category yet again. Now, moving on here, let's now talk about another important category and one of my absolute favorites and a must. Let's get into the overall battery life and the overall charge times on both of these devices. And before we dive in, I just want to show you the battery health on both. All right, so let's pull it up on the G Power. Let's pull it up on the Pixel. So you can see I haven't really charged these in about a day. Let's see, when was my last charge over here? So 23 hours and change over here, almost 24 hours. And then over here, about the same thing. So these pretty much came off the charger at the same time. So they've been rocking out for about 24 hours. And you can see we still have, if we go to discharge, this is still at 58%. And if we go to discharge, this is still at 80%. Okay? Now, just so I'm 100% honest with y'all, my main SIM, okay, is in the Moto G Power. My main SIM is a straight talk Verizon SIM, okay? So this device is going to get a little bit heavier usage than this device. This device has my secondary data SIM in it, okay? So although the data SIM does come with a phone number and I can use it for phone calls, this is primarily just a data SIM that I use it for, and I pretty much take phone calls with this device using Facebook, Telegram, WhatsApp, you name it. But I do have a phone number with this device, but this device is primarily used for data only. So it doesn't get as much usage as opposed to the Moto G Power. But that being said, you can see that if we jump over to the battery health on both, now I got the Moto G Power 2020 brand new from Straight Talk Verizon. And you can see in terms of the battery health, it's still at 100% battery health, even for as long as I've had it. And you can also verify again that it has a 4700 milliamp hour battery, as I stated earlier. Okay? And this is compared to the battery health on the Pixel 3a XL, which is at 97%. And I got this used from the Amazon Renewed program, And you can see it's still rocking a 3500 milliamp hour battery on board. So not quite 3700 milliamps, but 97% for a renewed device. That's still pretty good in my opinion. All right, so I just wanted to show y'all the battery health on both. Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk about the overall battery life and the charge times on both. Now, in terms of the overall battery life, I have to say both devices did a great job. Again, key factors that you want to be mindful of: 1080p plus displays on both, 6.4-inch IPS LCD display on the G Power, 6-inch OLED display on the Pixel 3a XL. And in my opinion, the OLED display is a little bit more battery efficient than the IPS LCD display. All right, so I just wanted to point that out there. Again, battery sizes, 4700 milliamp hours, 3700 milliamp hours. So they differ on paper by 1000 milliamp hours. All right, in terms of the charging, 18-watt turbo power charging, depending on your region, 18-watt direct power delivery 2.0 rapid charging on the Pixel 3a XL. So 18-watt fast charging on both of these. No wireless charging on either of these. All right? Just wanted to point that out. Now, in terms of the battery, I'm easily able to get through a day with both of these with my style of really heavy usage. Now, talking about regular usage, I'm getting a day and a half on both of these, all right, with my style of heavy usage. And for the Moto G Power, that's getting me on average between 10 to 15 hours of screen on time, whereas with the Pixel, that's getting me between 9 and 12 hours of screen on time, okay? But with my style of heavy usage, they're easily getting me through a day, if not a day and a half. And if I switch to moderate or light usage, we're looking at 2 to 3 days, upwards of 5 days for the Moto G Power. So overall battery life on both of these devices is really good, but this is where the Moto G Power takes the cake because it just gets noticeably better battery life, in my opinion. Not by much, but it does show. All right, so in terms of the battery life, the Moto G Power is taking the win. In terms of the charge time, however, this is where the Pixel 3a XL fights back. Now, on average, the Moto G Power takes upwards of 2 to 2.5, if not 3.5 hours to reach a full charge, depending on the percentage that I put it on the charger at, whereas the Pixel 3a XL charges up in about an hour and 45 minutes to an hour and 55 minutes. So talking about the charging to full, it's going to go a lot faster on the Pixel 3a XL. So the Pixel is winning when we talk about overall charging speeds. All right. Now, if you don't charge to full on either device, you might see it go faster and or slower on either. Okay. But that comparison is just based on charging both devices to full. All right. So you can see yet again, they trade blows between these two categories. So the Pixel wins in the charging, but the Moto wins in the overall battery life. Okay. Now let's move on to the final category in this versus/comparison video. Let's talk pricing. Let's talk final thoughts. Let's talk overall recommendations and get into, which one I would pick over the other. Let's go. So talking about the pricing on these. Now, the Pixel 3a XL ran me about $181 just for the device. And then the case and accessories ran me another $13 and change. Okay. Whereas the Moto device, when I'm done paying for it, it's going to run me $185 and change for the device. And the two cases and tempered glass screen protector ran me a little bit over 15 bucks. Okay. So on paper, the Pixel 3a XL and its accessories, at least talking about what I was able to pick it up for, comes in a lot cheaper than what I was able to pick up the Moto G Power for. Okay? So if we're talking about what I was able to get these devices for, and we're talking strictly based on pricing, I would have to say go ahead and go with the Pixel 3a XL. Now, let's say you wanted to pick up both of these devices in like new condition or brand new condition. This is where it gets a little tight. So you can pick up the Pixel 3a XL, ranging in price from about $155 all the way up to $335 brand new condition. Used brand new condition is up to you. Whereas for the Moto G Power, the 2020 model, this one will run you about $175 to $300 in used or brand new condition. It's up to you. So if we're talking brand new, the Moto G Power is a little bit cheaper than the Pixel by about $35. Okay? But that being said, now that we've ran over the pricing and we've pretty much got to the end of the video, which one would I recommend? Okay? And in all honesty, I can actually recommend both of these. It just comes down to which device you think you're going to be able to get the better experience out of. If you're a fan of the micro SD card expansion, the waterproofing, and the bigger display, and you like the overall versatility of having additional cameras like the ultra wide, okay, I would say go with the Moto. You should have a really good, enjoyable experience. But, and this is a big but in my opinion, if you want the more up-to-date security patches, you want the better cameras and the smoother overall day-to-day software experience, okay, then I would say go with the Pixel 3a XL, okay? Sure, it's not perfect because it doesn't have waterproofing or micro SD card expansion, but overall, if I had to pick one right now, I would go with the Pixel 3a XL, okay? I just really like the cameras, the camera performance coming off of this one. The battery life overall is really good, and I'm a sucker for the faster updates and the up-to-date security patches, okay? But that's my overall recommendations on these. So who won this versus/comparison video at the end of the day, in my opinion? Well, sadly, the Moto taking an L on this one. So first versus/comparison video between one of the top battery kings and the Moto is taking an L in my overall opinion. Okay? So that pretty much does it for this video. As always, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed the video. I hope you guys and gals found it helpful. If you did, y'all know what to do. As always, if this video piqued your interest, all the links to where y'all can pick up these devices at some really great prices, as well as all of my extended coverage on either device, along with their accessories, will be linked up down below in the video description. And those are affiliate links. So you use those links to make your purchases, and I do get a small percentage of kickback from those links that I do put back into the channel at no additional cost to you guys and gals. All right? So as always, down below in the video description will be like a one-stop shop for you guys and gals, and you should be good to go. Recording this video here today for parts 1 and parts 2, we did use the rear-facing 12-megapixel camera on the Samsung Galaxy S8 Active, and recording all the audio here today, we are using the Movo MA2010 omnidirectional microphone. So please let me know what you think of the overall video quality, as well as what you think of the overall audio quality down below in the comments. As always, all your feedback is greatly appreciated, and keep it respectful, please. Hope everyone is having a great day. Hope you guys and gals are staying safe out there, and I will catch everyone in the next one. Have a good one, everybody. We are out of here. Peace. Alright, everyone. So as promised, I just wrapped up the versus/comparison for the Pixel 3a XL versus the Moto G Power here. So it's time to drop one of my two SIMs into the OnePlus Nord N100. So y'all can see I got the 128 GB micro SD card already loaded up in here. Let's take the AT&T free up mobile SIM here, and let's drop it into the tray and drop it into the device. Let's do this. Give me 1 second. Let me do this off camera. but I am going to show y'all that I'm sliding this bad boy into the OnePlus Nord N100. So SIM in, so y'all can see it there. SIM is in. It looks like it's notched up correctly. Let's go ahead and drop it into the Nord now, so y'all can see the SIM tray wasn't in there. Let's line that up. Alright, hold on, let me try not to break anything. Alright, there we go. Boom. And the tray is in. A little bit more difficult to get that tray in, and you do want to be careful because, as I've said before in other videos, the tray is plastic and you don't want to break that bad boy. So, tray is in. Show you real quickly here. Did it go out and pick it up without me having to do anything? Let's see. So it's trying to grab service. You see it up there. Okay, I see that reflection. Trying to grab service right there. And let me see. Let me turn off Wi-Fi and see if it grabs it. Okay, so it did pick up service. Y'all can see the service bar is full. And let's go in and see what she says. Alright, so y'all can see Free Up Mobile right there in the corner. Let me get that to focus. Having some focusing issues here. Alright. Anyway, take my word for it. That says Free Up Mobile right there. I'm sorry that it's kind of out of focus. There, you can see it much better there. So Free Up Mobile right there. And let's see. Did it get the service right away? So let's jump on the internet. And let's see. And nope. Internet says offline. You see right there, internet says offline. So we got to go ahead and program the APNs. And I'll be right back. I'll show y'all the data working. So I'll be right back with y'all. Alright everyone, so y'all can see now, I just finished programming in the APN settings for Free Up Mobile AT&T into the APN settings on the OnePlus Nord N100. So you can see it's programmed in here, it's selected. So now let's go ahead and, oh, Prioxis is dropping a video. I gotta check that right after this. Shout out to your boy Prioxis. If you're a gaming enthusiast, you need to subscribe to your boy. But now let's go ahead and turn the Wi-Fi off. Alright, you can see data is on, and now it's grabbing down the data connection, and there you can see H+. So we got that little H+ in the corner there. Man, focus struggling hard today. Let's get that focused up. So we got the H+ in the corner. Alright, let's go ahead and clear out everything. And let's go ahead and pull up the web browser. And you see it's loading up. Taking a second there. And it's loading up. Boom. So just like that, so the 4G LTE is working, even though it just says H+ in the corner. Alright, and now let me do one more thing. Let me see if I restart the device, if that would turn to an LTE symbol. Let's see, so let's restart. Man, the focus is really struggling here today, man. Hold on, let me adjust this a little bit. Alright, let's get that high angle. See if that helps. Alright, yeah, so focus definitely focuses a lot better when it's higher up. So let's let that restart now. Angle that up a little better there. Okay, right there. Boom. Alright, so let's let that finish restarting. OnePlus logo. Now it's asking for my authentication. Let's go ahead and authenticate. And there we have it. LTE up in the corner there. Man, I do apologize, y'all. Struggling to see that. Let me turn off the dark mode real quick. Okay, I gotta go into themes to turn it off, which means I can't readily get to that. But y'all can see it right there. It does say LTE. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it says LTE. So we are picking up full 4G LTE, and then right next to the LTE symbol here, I'm getting a voice over LTE symbol right there. So now let's go ahead and check the web speeds, the web browser speeds here. So I'll pull up the web browser. It's gonna reload the last page. Alright, and you can see it's loading up. Boom. And oh yes, it's definitely a lot faster than the H Plus. Boom. It's still taking a second there. But you can see it is loading up, and it loaded up, no problems. So data is working. Phone calls are working. Wi-Fi is working on the OnePlus Nord N100. And we're going to go ahead now and start putting that bad boy through the review process. I do apologize for the lighting here today. I am losing the sunlight, so camera is definitely struggling, so I apologize for that. But I did tell y'all as soon as the coverage was over that I was going to show y'all on camera me putting in the SIM on the OnePlus Nord N100. So there it goes. The review process has officially started. Let's get into it. And just so y'all can see, the device is fully set up. So all my folders and things are set up. So software walkthrough video coming soon as well. And we are out of here. Once again, have a good one, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.